This film is about what happened to my culture when it was interrupted by your culture.
That's just a part of the trailer of the movie and DVD I'm going to be talking about in a moment, called Another Country. This week I sat down and watched what became both a powerful and an emotional documentary for me. I see a lot of movies and documentaries over 12 months, and Another Country is very, very powerful. It's just screened at the Cannes Film Festival. June the 1st, we see it being screened in Paris. Last weekend, Another Country continued its global success, screening at the North American largest doco festival called Hot Docs. It has been very, very successful. It's ongoing. It's screening at the moment around Australia. It's just been released onto DVD. It's been described and labelled as the best doco of the year by miles. In Another Country, David Galpidel tells the wonderful story of his people's lives and how they were interrupted by a new culture. It's compelling viewing. It's emotional, heartfelt, and to me an eye-opener. The director and co-writer, Molly Reynolds, joins me online. Molly, welcome in.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you very much.
Very, very nice to be talking to you. I want to repeat what I said just then. A very emotional, eye-opening documentary.
Yep, I think in part because what this documentary does is it speaks from a black fella point of view about, what happened when their culture was interrupted by ours, where I think a lot of storytelling, we're just shifting from that paradigm of white fellas saying to white fellas, goodness, we've got to treat these other people better, differently. And so I think that is perhaps what Another Country offers to the whole discourse about our Indigenous and First people.
David has got a wonderful commentary. It's a dramatic commentary to this. The way he tells it, the poignant pauses that he has, the emotion that he shows within his description of what's going on is just phenomenal. A wonderful actor. And he doesn't hide anything about his past. He's gone into a lot of detail about that. But the way we're taken up to Northern Australia and we're introduced to this community, tell us where the community was.
The community is Ramingining, and it's a couple of, in the dry season, 1 day's driving. In the wet season, you pretty well can't drive there, and you can only fly in. And as David says in the documentary, it's cheaper to go, to fly to England to see the Queen than it is to get to Ramingining. And it's a very remote, isolated community, yet the Yolngu who live there and across the northeast of Arnhem are a very, very strong and proud people, and I'm very connected to their land. And what I think, apart from the fact that David is such a charismatic character, and he, as he speaks in the documentary, as he performs in films, he's just like that in real life, face to face. But he's also someone who has been jammed between two cultures, and so is very much knows his own people, but then has kind of, through his association with, broader Australia, is a little bit disconnected. So he can speak to the notion of, being, two different cultures, being caught between them and understanding how they clash.
I made some notes when I was watching the movie, and there's one phrase or one sentence that he says, our culture doesn't fit with your culture. And, the more you look upon this as black and white Australians, it really makes you take on board that the whole of Australia has got to come together as one.
Yes, I would say so, and I think that that when you say that, Leigh, I kind of think of a broader Australia becoming a more generous Australia, and when we come together as one, we've also got to look at other social issues.
Totally.
Like refugees, and, and the fact that we're the only nation in the world that holds people, in detention indefinitely. And if we're conducting ourselves so appallingly on that level, no wonder our Indigenous peoples get such short shrift from it, from us as a nation.
Well, you go on the movie and we take a look at the shop that's been created there. You're waiting on a ship or the barge to come in with you supplies. If it's been raining, if it's wet, if the ship has broken down or something, the supplies can't come in, so people are going hungry. It goes on, and David says in the movie, we never had rubbish, because we do see a rubbish tip at one stage, and all those old cars all heaped up. He said everything we had went back to the bush. It's part of the land again. He makes a very, very good point here that, living off the land, eating from the land, giving back to the land. Very, very poignant statement.
Yes, and I think that was something that a paradigm shift that I had to make as I came to know the community up there, because I've been visiting them for over 10 years now. And, I would sort of be a little bit confused, because I'm thinking, how come if the mob up here, if they care so much about country, why is there litter everywhere? And, as I began to understand other and culture, and, through spending time in David's company, it's that they don't see rubbish, because as little as 50 years ago, they were nomadic, they hunted, they harvested, everything was organic, and so when they'd throw the bones over their shoulder, the environment and nature would take care of it. And that is all changed now. Coca-Cola bottles, plastics, that whole disposability notion. They get that because that's been their lifestyle. But now it's with stuff that just doesn't disintegrate.
I'm talking to Molly Reynolds about Another Country. Molly, how long in the making?
Well, one could sort of say 10 years in the making. At the same time, Matt Netheim, my cinematographer, and I, we spent 6 weeks shooting. Then I was in the edit suite for about 3 or 4 months, and then returned to Ramingining for another couple of weeks. And so there was 8 weeks of shooting, and probably about 4 or 5 months of picture edit, and then about a month of sound editing.
Look, you must be very, very thrilled with the success of this, because it's heading off. You've been in Cairns, of course, but the first festival on Aboriginal Australian cinema is on the 1st to the 4th of June, and that's in Paris, I believe. Look, congratulations on all of these accolades that you're receiving. Molly, it's just, to me, it has opened my eyes enormously as to the help that we've got to give, and the government too for that matter, but I think as a whole we've all got to give to these people to help them. You've got young kids up there playing football on the football field. These young kids growing up, what's their future going to be if we don't help now?
That is, you've asked the $64,000 question there, Leigh. That's I don't know. And it's in part why we've made this documentary, so it can make some contribution to a future that works out well for everybody. Yep, it's there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Well, as I said earlier in the introduction, it's a movie that everybody has to see. I know there's a lot of schools involved in this, and they're going to go around, I suppose, and you'll market that through the schools and so on in education. But it goes beyond that. I think the general public need to see this. It's just come out on DVD through Ronin Films, and our audience can, of course, access that by roninfilms.com.au/video, and you can buy it online. I would strongly suggest that my listeners go out and get a copy as soon as they possibly can and take a look at it. It's done a lot to me. It's changed a lot of my views. And, Molly, I congratulate you and the team because you've done wonders.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you for your very generous words.
That's my pleasure. Take care.